Right, as soon as you want to know how to do it, I should give you a quick vid when I can get my multimeter sorted out. Give me 2 seconds. Right, you should have a multimeter that's something like this. Right, you need to turn it on to your value. Is it 200 at the bottom there? See that? No, it's coming to focus. That's what you need to use. Now I'm going to use this RegRec. This is the one off my CBR 600, but the principle is the same. Okay. Now you've got your power, which is your red ones, your earth, and these 3 yellow ones come from the generator. Now there are set values which you'll find in the Haynes manual, or you can find them online, Google it. It will tell you how much resistance, or how many ohms should be coming through. There'll be a value from like 0.1 to 10 ohms, which should be on these yellow ones. So if I put, this is going to be a bit difficult one-handed. 2 seconds. Right. I've dropped that one onto the red one. And you can see the ohmage is climbing. Okay, that's just ohmage, just showing how much resistance is coming through the cable. The higher the number, the less resistance there is. Right, so there is no resistance coming through them at all. Just climbing and climbing and climbing. Now if I switch that to the green one, I can get the damn thing plugged in. Oh, it's fell off. I'll use that one, that does the same. Okay, right, there we go. Now, see that's holding resistance? That's 5.6, okay? That's holding. That's what it should be doing. That's holding resistance. Right, that's with this reg rectifier, that's actually within the value. But when you switch it, you've got a value there of 7. Value on that one of 7. But if you look at that one, see it climbing? That's the third one, that's the furthest one away. It's still climbing. There is no resistance down that cable at all. They should all be reading the same. They should all be reading the value. See, the resistance isn't very good on that, it's climbing. That's 7.2. And that's just climbing, just keeps climbing. So there's no resistance, none whatsoever. You can see it for yourself, just climbing and climbing and climbing. It should hold steady. What the ohms is doing is measuring in there. It's measuring the circuits. You've got obviously it's a series, it's a circuit board. What you'll have is a series of resistors. Now if there is a resistor blown, and I've got a picture of somewhere of my ZZR one with a resistor blown. If there is a resistor blown, then obviously there's no resistance through the resistors. So it will just create a continuous circuit, which is not meant to do. It's meant to go to a certain value and stay there. Right? So if it's meant to be between 0.1 and 10, then the value that comes up on the meter should be between 0.1 and 10. But as you can see, even now, look, it's still climbed up. That's holding at 9.9, right? And that one is 9.1. But if you go to that one, somewhere in there's a resistor blown because it's climbing. It's just constantly climbing. It shouldn't. It should hold steady. We'll go off the scale in a minute. There it goes. That's off the scale. That means that that's blown. So if I switch it to the other side, I can get the damn thing unplugged. Let's see what we get out of this one. Right. So we've got 12.5, 12.5, 12.6. So on that side of the circuit, it's holding resistance. Okay. But the values are still out. It should only be up to 10. And it's 2.7 over. So it's not holding what it should. So whatever's blown inside there is causing everything else to be thrown out. See, the other thing you've got to test as well is not just your power, which is your red one, it's your earth as well. So if I test the earth, 13.3. If I remember rightly, I think that's within the value. That one should be the same, 13.3, yeah. And we got resistance down that cable of 10.8. Yeah, that's right. You see what I'm saying? Anything over the value. So if, like I said, that's 13.5 now. That's gone over the value of what it should be. Right? It's actually climbed up a bit more. Same as that one. Same as that one. It doesn't really matter which way round you do it. Well, it's got to be within the values. If none of them readings, whichever way round you do it, are within the values that it should be, it's blown. There is a little bit of compensation between them. I mean, you do get sort of plus or minus three or so, depending on your multimeter. It will tell you in the descriptions, but. See, look, even just doing that now. Blow. No. See how much it's playing up? There's just no resistance there at all. Absolutely nothing. And there should be. No resistance between them two. Has to be resistance. Resistance that way, which is the right value. Well, in fact, it's not even, I don't know actually. Might be the right values, but it's actually, it's holding some sort of resistance. But again, if I swap them over, look, put the black one in, go to that one, 14.7, 13.6, and then that end one again. It's not holding anything. Look, that one is dead. You wouldn't have thought it made a difference, would you? But if one of these, any one of these cables is not holding a resistance, then you're not getting anything through it. See? What you got to remember is when you should have a generator inside that spins, okay, which is your alternator basically, depending on how your bike's set up. What happens is that chucks out something like anywhere between 24 and 70 volts, right? That's what it chucks out. I mean, on this particular one, on this particular bike, it chucks between 50 and 70 volts out. I mean, it fluctuates between when you're revving, which is what it should do. And then what happens is you've got three cables that come out of a generator, which plug into the end of here. Obviously, I've got the plug off. And then that obviously goes into here. Okay, 70 volts are going into here, which is being sorted out and chucked back down these cables. Well, this goes to your battery, and then goes off to obviously run the rest of your electric and everything, okay, because your alternator's coming in here and then coming out there. If at any point there's anything that breaks down in here, which is what's happened to mine, is it was charging at 12.7 volts. When I revved it, it went up to about 13. Now, that told me straight away there's something not quite right here, right? So what I did was obviously I took it off and I've tested it, and I've since found out that that one's blown. Now, a rec, when your bike is revving, should be put in about 14.5 volts. When it's ticking over, it should be around 13.2, 13.5. That's what should be going into the battery constantly when it's ticking over. With all your lights and everything on, it should be roughly around about the same, maybe a little bit less. Then when you rev it, it should go up, okay? You'll be able to tell this on a multimeter. All you need to do is set your multimeter to test the voltage, which is that one there. I think. I could be wrong. Was it that one? I can't remember which one it is. That one. That one there. Right, that will test your voltage. That will then tell you how much voltage is going into your battery. If it's charging below 13 volts, or 13.5 or 13.7 volts, your red rec is shot because it is not regulating the voltage back into your battery like it should be. That's what they're designed to do, right? Now, the only other thing that possibly could be shot is your alternator, but I doubt it because it's running, okay? If your alternator's shot, it won't run. It will die 10 minutes down the road because you'll be running on the battery. It is going to be that's shot. I will put money on it. This is the same problem I had with mine. I went all the way to the Ace Cafe on Sunday with mine, and what we found was it would run absolutely spot on, but it was putting no charge into the battery. Okay, now if my alternator was shot, it wouldn't run. It wouldn't run at all because the battery was completely flat. We had to bump start it all day. So that's why I've come back and I've tested this. That's why I know that that's blown, and that wire is shot, because there's no resistance to it, which means the resistors inside there are blown. And unfortunately, I can't get into it to show you, because that is one sealed unit. So there's no way of getting into it. If it was a plastic one, it'd be better, but it's not. It's just a metal one. Now, Hondas are known for blowing these. So I've got a new one coming tomorrow. And I'll do a resistance test on it as well before I put it back in. So I can see what the values are and what was at fault. But I know it's this, and I know it's that cable. Okay? Yours will be pretty much the same thing. Once you've worked out, if there's no resistance at all, okay, your multimeter, like I said, your multimeter will just literally, it will just keep climbing. Alright? There's no resistance. It's letting ohmage through. Okay, if you've got a resistor that's 0.5, okay, then you put this on it, it will stop at 0.5. That's what resistors do. They stop current. They only allow a certain amount of current through. So as you can see, that's just climbing and climbing and climbing. But if I put it on that one, it stops. It's holding steady. Even though it's climbing, it's still holding steady. Whereas that one just keeps going. But like I said, anything out of any of the values, Google it. Google your bike and Google and see if you can find the values of what it should be. I mean, I think yours will have like three pins on the bottom and 2 on the top, which will be red and probably black, and then obviously your generator wires that come in. Okay, which obviously that takes up the power, like I said. So you need to find out what the ohmage is across, like I have. You'll know that, for instance, that some of these will be between 10 and 200 ohms on this particular regular rectifier, and some will be 0.1 to 10 ohms. Anything out of any of the values that you are given means that a regulator rectifier is shot. All right, and that means that it's just a case of you're just going to have to replace it. But like you said, like I just read through your post, at the end of the day, if you've replaced the battery and it's still doing the same thing, and it's still only putting 12 volts or whatever in, then it is definitely a regulator rectifier. I know a lot of people have said just change the battery. It's not the battery. It won't be the battery. Batteries don't die that quickly. Okay, they are pretty much robust. You can flatten a battery right down, recharge it, be fine. Short distance doesn't really matter. Okay. Riding a bike short distance doesn't make a blind bit of difference. It doesn't flatten your battery, and a lot of people say that, oh yeah, you ride your bike short distance, it's not putting. No, it's got nothing to do with it. If that is not putting out when you are revving 14 plus volts, 14.5 volts, when you are revving your bike up past, I don't know, 2,000 RPM, whatever it is, 3,000 RPM, then that is shot. Okay, if it is idling and it is without your lights and everything on, and it's not putting out 13 to 13.7 or around that figure, anything over 13, then that is shot. If you put all your lights and everything on and it drops down to below 13, that is definitely shot, which is what mine was doing. Okay, I put my fan on and I get looks a bit like 11 volts. It's that what will be shot. I will put money on it is that is shot. Right, now I hope this helps. I know it's not exactly the same regulator rectifier what you got, because I said this is off my CBR 600, but it will give you some idea of what you need to be looking for. Like I said, Google everything. Google what you need. Google your values. You know that you need to be set on your ohmage, which is 200. Okay, and then literally just go through each individual one and test them. Write down the values of what you're getting and then compare it to what you've got. Okay, now like I said, if it's blown, they'll be completely out. Even it'll be 0.2 over or 2 over, whatever. If it's any part of it is over, then it's shot. Right, now there will be some give and take. I mean, I think this on 200, I think it's give or plus or minus 2. I think plus or minus 2 on the value. So if that was at 12, it will be somewhere around 10, right? If it goes up to 14, it will be 12. So there's a little bit of leeway, but there isn't a lot. So you got to bear that in mind. But if you got your value and that says 12, and then just check what your manual says on your voltmeter of your plus or minus of which way to go. So you can plus or minus it up to 12, you can plus or minus it down either to 14 or 10. So it's either way. So if that was 12, I could say, okay, that's 10, that's close enough. But I know for a fact testing this, some of these go up to 14, 35. They go well over the top of the values that they need to be. All right. So I hope that helps. If you need questions, give me a shout. What I'll do is I'll stick this on the... Can't get that out of there now. I'll upload it, and hopefully it will help you to sort out what you need. All right.